healers in the desert. So you see he's really active. Reports, research, foundations, social policy, activism of various kinds. He's written several books, organized many public policies. In the last 6 years, he's written more than 150 detailed reports. And sometimes I hear himself describing himself as a journalist. But right now he's becoming an anthropologist, and we're working together, and it's quite fun to hear him talk about his people. You will see how much enthusiasm he has and how much knowledge he has. And we look forward very much to your talk about the healing traditions of the nomads of the Thar Desert.
Thank you, Professor Sachs, for your kind introduction. 4 years ago, we organized a conference and titled as Getting to Know Nomads. In Hindi, Kumantuon ko jano. And Professor Sachs was also a part of that conference. And the conference was unique in many ways. First, the conference organized in their deras, not in the buildings and the expert just coming and giving their talk and lots of lecture like this. We spent the whole day just listening to their stories. And at night, when we just talked and asked the questions, that is when nomads called Professor Sachs is a Jankar Admi. And Jankar Admi means he can understand us very well. So thank you, sir, for giving me such an opportunity. And I extend my thanks to Philip Bhai and Sandra ma'am and all my doctor colleagues and friends. I'm deeply honored and privileged to share my experience with you all. Before I'm going to start, I must acknowledge that while my talk might not get too deep into the academic stuff, it is all about my real life encounters that I have had. The nomadic communities I have met taught me so much. Their stories go beyond what I'm finding in books, lectures, or academics. To understand healing practices, or someone saying I want to understand their art or music or dance, it is crucial to understand their culture first. Because these elements are not separate categories to comprehend, but deeply ingrained within their way of life. Without understanding their culture, it is impossible to comprehend independently. And although I cannot cover the nomadic culture in just 1 hour, but I will do my best to give a broad overview about these communities. So here you can see structure. I'm just going to first share some of the ethnographic stories of nomadic healing. Then I'm just going to introduction to the nomadic communities and nomadism in South Asia with a focus on India. Then I just exploration of healing traditions among nomads and with the emphasis on Kalbeliya community. Then challenges and finally conclusion. So here, in this slide you can see 2 maps. One is South Asia map and second is Indian map. South Asia includes Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Maldives. And Indian maps highlight the state of Rajasthan, which is the largest state. And it covers, I think, around area 3.42 lakh square kilometer. And if you compare that area to the Germany, I think Germany covered 3.57 lakh square kilometer. So it's equal to Germany, almost. And if you look at this part separately, especially the Rajasthan, in the colored part, this is the Thar Desert. And this is my research area. And Rajasthan is known for its vast desert, its historical forts and havelis, and vibrant culture. And if you look at the physical map of South Asia, here you can see the Thar Desert. So 85% of Thar Desert is in India, while 15% is in Pakistan. And when we talk about Thar Desert or desert, so what things comes to our mind? First, the sand dunes, or hot temperature, or lack of vegetation, or lack of water, like this. But this is incomplete picture. If you see the Thar Desert, the Thar Desert ranks first in terms of biodiversity compared to other deserts of the world. Second, it holds the first place in terms of religious diversity. In India, we have average diversity is 14% according to government report, and Thar Desert has the religious diversity 24%. More than 40 languages are spoken here. More than 50 nomadic communities live here. So it's a kind of cultural diversity if you find in Thar Desert. And this diversity is because of these nomadic communities. They provide different types of services or different types of work in that desert area. Someone experts of like making or construct water bodies like Banjara people. They construct step wells. Here, first you in this slide, you can see the sand dunes in Thar Desert. The goats and ships, and this is a kind of oran, small patches of forest in between the desert area. The cattle, and here is this the Kalbeliya people. So different types of work like water, especially for the Banjara people, healing work, Kalbeliya, Opa, and Raika people, and other works, especially the soil health. The Bagri community is famous for the soil health. So Thar Desert is a kind of biodiversity rich. So because of these nomadic communities, and so before I'm just going to start, first I'm going to three ethnographic stories, to share three ethnographic stories. One belongs to Kalbeliya community, second belongs to Raika, a pastoralist community, and third a oral historian, that's a Bhopa community. And how they just understand the healing practices and how they just going to cure for the human body in a different perspective, in different way. So, about 6 years ago in Badmer, I had the privilege of witnessing a childbirth within the snake charmer Dera, or you can say the Kalbeliya community. Their approach to childbirth was fascinatingly unique. I observed that the woman, Kamli, here you can see the picture of the Kamli. Here you can see, she's just making the kind of lapsi, this is a Kamli. Would wake up every day around 5 or 6 in the morning. Her first task was to grind millets into flour using a stone mill. This is the stone grinding mill. stone grinding mill, and she would wake up every day around 5 or 6 in the morning. Her first task was to grind millets into flour using a stone mill. After taking food, she would then tend to the sheep and goats for about 4 hours, following a meal and rest. In the evening, she would gather firewoods and carry it on her head, weighing around 15 to 20 kilogram. She was continuously active throughout the day. On the day the woman was to give birth, we journeyed a long distance to the dera. Upon arrival, we found shades under a lush green tree, that's a khejri, and set up dera. An elderly woman, Shodri, acting as a midwife, initiated the process with the assistance of 3 other Kalbeliya women. As preparations began, they opted for a standing position instead of lying down, and standing position lying slightly tilt. And then employing what they refer to as the cold method. They use 2 types of method, cold method or hot method. It's depend on the temperament and is decided by the midwife. To assist in the delivery process, she was fumigated and given something to sniff. For fumigation, she used different types of herb. I wrote down that herb's name. The woman calmly delivered a baby girl in about 10 to 15 minutes. An elder man from the dera picked up a stone and broke into 2 halves. After the stone is divided into 2 halves, each half reveals a new stone on the broken side. In that area of the stone, there is more silica which acts as an antiseptic, and this part was used to cut the baby's umbilical cord. The cord was then stored in a box for future use in treating the girl's illnesses. The loggia came out in about 10 or 15 minutes. Subsequently, the woman sat in a tub of wine, is a local liquor. I don't know why they did so, to stop bleeding and why. After a while, both the woman and the girl were bathed. A surma, that's a rare product, applied on the baby's eye. Approximately 2 or 3 hours later, the woman cooked food lapsi. That she is just going to cook that lapsi. A sweet dish with jaggery, and normal activities resumed. Here you can just find that generally in biomedicine, the doctor just prescribes, please do not carry the weight. Please do not go into more walk and the kind of work. And generally they're just going for the childbirth, you just do it laying down, but they are not, their own understanding about the illness and the childbirth is completely opposite to the biomedicine side. I think this is the different worldview about the health and the illness. And the second, the same, on the night time, Mishri Nath, elderly Kalbeliya, around 80 years old, was playing the flute while some people were talking to each other. Here you can see flute, and here in this side, this is Mishri Nath. He's just trying to for flute, and behind is he just to see the women just cooking food and the goats and this kind of sand dunes in Jaisalmer, and he's sitting in Bardmer. And Mishri Nath, elderly Kalbeliya, just was playing the flute while some people were talking to each other around the campfire with no other light source. Women were conversing with one another. The air was filled with songs and sounds of flutes, creating a relaxed and friendly atmosphere. People, including those who were sick, came with their families to enjoy the music and socialize. Some smoked chillum, while women quietly offered drinks. These gatherings helped build strong bonds within the community. Kalbeliya women showcased their fashion products, adding to the festive vibe. Women danced freely, expressing themselves without hesitation. The whole family sat together throughout the night. They played, talked about herbs, trance, and asked some questions, with all things coming all together. In the middle, they also used some different kinds of voices, long continuous voices. Then someone asked something for the ill person side, and the yogi replied to them, mostly close family or relative based, but he was not taking anything from the ill persons. These gatherings moved to different spots each week. The next day, Mishri Nath went on ferry just to visit to their judgeman's house or their patronage house. Visited to these households, they gave them grains or some other items too. Some women took herbs from their illnesses. So here you can just see the dress, especially the ferry. In the morning time, he just visit to their Jasman's house. Women share her problems with the Kalbeliya. He offered different herbs like maror fali in their own language, especially used for the stomach problems.
That is snake bite?
Scorpion bite, especially the snake, yes, it's a cobra. This is a hatha jodi.
इसके नियम होते हैं, 9 टाइम उपवास रखना पड़ता है और अपने इसको हफ्ता जोड़ी बोलते हैं। ये हर प्रकार का काम करती है, राज में, केस में, लेन में, जेल में, भाई में, जेल में, दुश्मन में। अपने अगर जेल में रखी है तो दुश्मन भी वार नहीं कर सकता है, जैसे ये हाथ जोड़ लिए तो हाथ जोड़ कर निकल जाता है, वो हफ्ता जोड़ी बोलते हैं।
So this is Kalbeliya. So, but the question is ki, who are Kalbeliyas and how do they live? So first, I just go with the Kalbeliya community. So Kalbeliya is a nomadic community in the Thar Desert and is famous for snake charming, black magic, dance. They have long performed medical functions such as midwifery, surgeries, snake and scorpion bite healing, and the collection and distribution of herbs to the other caste in the Thar Desert. They have immense medical knowledge that is not recognized by the state or biomedical authorities. They have also played an important role in rendering desert wasteland fruitful by maintaining a precarious ecosystems. They work as a protectors of snakes and small patches of forest in the desert called orans. Also as artists and craftsmen who make grinding mills, bamboo baskets, and other products for daily use. They also craft and supply beauty products and ornaments. The Kalbeliya community's healing practices encompass a holistic approach, integrating various modalities such as music and dance therapy, herbal remedies, and ritual healings. By combining these different methods, they address not only the physical alignments but also the emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being of individuals. This holistic approach reflects this deep understanding of the interconnectedness of different aspects of health and their traditional knowledge. Passed down through generations, Kalbeliyas are the followers of Guru Gorakhnath. It's a spiritual leader, and their philosophy revolves around the job, which signifies the pursuit of greater goods, far from materialistic life. They carry cobra snake and release the snake within 21 days. If someone exceeds this time frame, it is believed that the snake may curse the person or that the Kalbeliya community may outcast them. Jogi, that's Kalbeliya, comes to our houses early in the morning on ferry. Jogi wears a white cloth around their waist, a long saffron kurta and a saffron scarf around their head. They carry a jhola bag. Over their shoulders carry herbs, a cobra snake in their bamboo basket, and a musical instrument called a bean, that's a flute, in their hand. Jogi tells story about history by singing songs to make the household happy. They sing songs like Papiha, Kangshya, Jeder, these are traditional songs. Jogi also gives special herbs like Hathi Joda, Singdi. People consider their presence sacred, so they receive respect in our homes. The family gives Jogi grains or money. If someone in the family has a problem, they tell Jogi and he tries to solve it right away or sets a day for their healing session. They carry a rare product called surma, made by the Kalbeliya community. It is different from the eye makeup called kajal, used by the Sindhi Muslim. Making surma takes a lot of time and skills. I never see cataract in the eyes of the Kalbeliya. They use surma, which is made up of snake poison, ratan jol, and many other products. It's time-consuming process and needs expertise. In desert area, a local proverb in the rural area that do not look into the eyes of the Kalbeliya women, they can hypnotize you. The eyes of Kalbeliya women are so captivating due to the use of surma and their naturally dark pigment. Similarly, Kalbeliya women carry things like Janam Bhutti. They also work as a healer, not just the male, but female is also work as a healer. They carry things like Janam Bhutti, which boosts children's immunity, and Tagdi, a thread, which helps from the evil spirits during childbirth, marriage ritual, during the festival of Holi. The presence of Kalbeliya is considered auspicious for receiving blessings for a long and healthy life. The marriage ceremony of the Kalbeliya community, known as Chalan, is indeed fascinating and rich in tradition. In this ceremony, the Kalbeliya's girl's family or girls select a potential partner, and then the boy demonstrates various skills and qualities over a period of 6 years. These skills include the ability to collect and process herbs, knowledge of herbal medicine, proficiency in catching snakes and playing the flute, as well as skills in constructing and moving the dera, that's a temporary settlement. Especially for understanding, it's a kind of tent house, but dera doesn't mean there's a tent house, but it also belongs to their animals, their kinships, and their all the belongings. That's a dera, temporary settlement. Here you can see. Look, this woman, she's healer, work as a healer. It's not a video, just photo. This is love song, especially the Papiya. And now I just come up with my second ethnographic stories. I was in, during COVID, I was in Jodhpur. I witnessed a Raika arriving when a buffalo foot was injured. Despite the local people calling a veterinary doctor who administered injections and bandaged the foot, there was no improvement. Then the Raika arrived, an elderly man, about 80 to 85 years old, stood tall at around 5 or 6 feet, with a long beard and mustache. He wore a big turban, typically for the Raika community, along with their special clothes, bakhtari, and it's what torn. It's the kind of bakhtari. He smelled bad, like he had no bath in months, and looked like a character from a scary movie. I'm just showing the. This is Daglara. Here you can see in this picture. He sat down and elderly smoked a pipe and shared tobacco. He carefully examined the buffalo and determined that the foot was broken in other place, not where it was bandaged. He performed his traditional treatment involving herbs, jaggery, garmunda, and remedies for first day, 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, and finally 56 days, and miraculously the foot healed. He did not ask for money or favors. He simply used his expertise and then left. I asked Daglaram, why are you not taking money for this service or work? He looked at me and laughed, then replied, what is the service? I told him, you have done a tremendous job healing the buffalo. He responded, it is my work, my barakat. Barakat means blessings. And he told me, it's budiyon ki barakat hai. That means this is the blessings of the elders. Barakat kamani hai. Piso chale jave, barakat nahi jave. This will never end. Your capital and we have a relationship for generations. I inquired, how many animals do you usually heal? He replied, as many as the hairs on your head. He was sitting on the dunes, take chillum, and then smiled towards me and left with his sticks. I thought he was teasing me. The Raika community is famous for camel breeding and herding, known by various names across different regions. Rebari in Gujarat, Raika in Rajasthan, and Devasi in Haryana. Their primary occupation revolves around pastoralism, where they expertly navigate travel routes, understand ecology, and prioritize the health of their animals. Their deep knowledge of animal health surpasses their veterinary doctors as they traverse rural area, forest, and riversides. He is trusted figures among the Raika communities. Types of house for animals and serve as animal doctor in desert area. They possess knowledge of medicinal plants and can treat common alignments among the animals they tend to. The Raika people have a unique way of finding out what is wrong with the animal by smelling the enzymes in camel pee, especially in the morning. Regular vets do not know how to do this. They use things like castor leaves, datura, and garmunda, which are found in desert areas, to heal the animals. In villages, camel are used for various household and agriculture activities. However, over time, their productivity decreases, promoting owners to seek new camels. When a herder known as a Raika arrives with their herd, they exchange the old camel for a fresh one, a process called ata sata or sata. The Raika takes the old camel, allowing it to roam freely with the herd, which helps regain its energy and nutrients over a year. This exchange is done with the agreement of the owner, known as jajmans, who also receive grains and money for the exchanges. Additionally, the Raika provides herbs for their jajmans animals, use their fields as a grazing grounds, and offered manure to fertilize the fields. Raika provide healing services to settled communities using different types of herbs, which is significant aspects of their culture. Their ability to offer these services depends largely on their mobility, as they travel from place to place, bringing their knowledge of medicinal plants whatever they go. Raika craft camel or goat wool. Here you can see in this picture. Yes. In this slide you can see two types of embroidery work. One is the blanket, there's a bakal, and the second is the carpet. This is their dari in their own language. So Raika craft camel or goat wool product known as bakal or blanket and daris or carpet. These items are exceptionally rare and time consuming to create, often taking years to complete. They are made exclusively for their close patterns and are not intended for commercial market. Instead, they serve as a gift, fostering relationship within the community. They are stitched by hand during the journey with their herds, rather than being made at home. These cultural practice is deeply ingrained in the lifestyle of the Raikas. As they move through grasslands, forests, or desert areas, they collect herbs, further integrating their traditions with the natural environment. So here in this story, you cannot differentiate between culture and the healing and the mobility. You can find all things all together. And the last ethnographic stories is the Bhopa. Bhopa is a storyteller community. Ravan Thar. It's a Bhopa, Sumaram Bhopa. Bhopa is a storyteller community who narrates tales through songs, dance, and music on a cloth called fard. Here you can see the fard. It's a 24 meters long. These stories depict various legends and myths of deities such as Bhomiaji or Babuji Rathod. Both men and women participate in this tradition, reciting stories in songs form and accompanied by music. Their voices are centered, sacred, and believed to empower the listeners. During the day, the Bhopa and his companions travel from place to place in sharing stories and songs. They also engage in rituals such as taking grains and providing healing sessions. They spend the entire day singing songs, often seated, and return to their dera in the evening. There is a Bhopa named Subnaram, around 65 years old. He wears a special dress called baga. That's red dress, that's a baga. When reciting fard, so he can wear that baga when recite fard. It's a kind of sacred dress. Subnaram learned these traditions from his ancestors. He did not go to school but can speak 5 languages and know thousands of songs and stories. Local people gather to listen to the fard recitation all night long. They invite Subnaram to recite the fard at organized events. Everyone sits together to recitation can start in the afternoon and go to until the next day. I used to accompany him to Bhomiaji's place. This is Bhomiaji place. Where he played his instrument all day and collected grains. There was an earthen platform under the khesri tree in desert area known as Bhomiaji ka Than, a sacred place. It's a place of worship. Bhopa used this place as a psychological, social, and community healing. The next day he went on a journey called ferry and received many things. Some women sat with him, sharing their problems, and he listened sometime for 2 hours, sometime for just half an hour. Women asked him to please sing a song, Kurja, Hirni, Chilmi. After 5 days, when I asked him about his work, he said it's his seva. He works for Bhumiaji and find joy in helping people and playing his instrument. He would sit on the dunes playing the melodious tunes, making it feels like an endless summer. After 5 days, he moved to the next location with his dera. So these are the 3 different communities, ethnographic stories, and in these 3 stories, it is not separate healing. First, healing practices is not separated to their cultural practices, and it is not separated with their mobility patterns. Or here you can find 2 things. One, the relationship with their judgments or patronage, and relationship with their landscape. So it's a relation, not deal. So the question is ki nomads and nomadism in South Asia. Who are nomads and how do they live? Nomadic people who do not have fixed identity move from place to place. They live their lives in deras or temporary settlements. Dera means a temporary settlement used by nomadic community. It includes animals, their belongings, and kinships all together. Each nomadic community has its own worldview and unique indigenous knowledge and understanding. Some specialize in expertise regarding water bodies, while others focus on soil health. Certain communities possess a deep understanding of animal behavior, while others are experts in healing practices. Some work in entertainment, while others are masters of acrobatics, oral history, music, trading, communication, transportation, and more. In India, there are over 1,200 nomadic communities, comprising approximately 10% of the total population. Historically, these communities have had mobility from Southeast Asia to Arab countries, and regions such as Sindh, Multan, and India, following specific routes. Today, they emphasize a circular flow of movements reflecting their dynamic lifestyle and cultural traditions. Their understandings are built on interaction with the rest of the community and nature. Mobility is not just a mode of transportation for nomadic healers like the Kalbeliya, it is intricately woven into the fabrics of their culture and healing practices. Unlike conventional notion where healing is viewed as a separate domain from daily life, for those nomads, it is an integral part of their existence. The same individual who play the flute, sing song, and gather herbs during the monsoon or summertime might spend the winter months making grinding meals. Attempting to segregate healing from their culture is futile. It is deeply embedded within their way of life. We have witnessed examples where communities in Madhya Pradesh or Haryana abandoned snake handlings and healing practices. Now they are working as a wage laborer. In essence, mobility is essential for their healing practices because it enables them to access the different ecological zones, different herbs, encounter diverse snake species, and evolve their understanding of healing in response to their environment. Without mobility, their healing traditions would lose their vitality and efficacy, rendering them incomplete in the absence of the nomadic lifestyle they cherish. For nomadic healers, acceptance from cultural norms rather than formal qualifications, their entire way of life revolves around mobility, with the entire dera moving together, allowing them to spend quality time with their families while engaging in various tasks like hunting or crafting, herbal remedies, etc. Their mental and physical well-being is intricately tied to their nomadic lifestyles. Settling down is simply not an option. Their happiness comes from traverse new territories, facing fresh challenges, and encountering different environments. Nomadic healers continuously evolve their understanding of healing through their interaction with the different communities and landscapes. They don't rely on formal education but rather on experimental learning and adaptability. They change routes for new patronage relationship and modify treatment procedure based on their experiences. They have all the approaches, preventive, promotive and curative. Catching the snake from the houses during the monsoon period to protect the household from the potential risk of snake bite is a preventive approach of healing. It depends on mobility. Healing does not mean only cure the illness, but to create an environment where no need to go to the healer, or create an environment of peace and harmony with nature and culture. So they visit house to house. This is day-to-day work, make society's environment peaceful and fruitful. This is promotive approach. You find three things. One, relationship with the Jajma, their mobility and their own culture settings. Unlike mere transition, the Jajmani system is deeply rooted in mutual respect and long-standing bonds, transcending mere economic exchange to embody a profound connection. Central to the nomadic way of life is their mobility, not merely a strategic maneuver but a deeply ingrained relationship with the desert landscape itself. It is more than just a means of resilience, it is a way of being intimately intertwined within the rhythms of nature. This relationship with the land, known as Jugalbandi, and relationship with the rest of the communities, Apasdari, shapes their identity and informs every aspect of their existence. Healing practices among these nomadic communities are holistic in nature, extended far beyond mere physical alignments. Their traditional methods are deeply ingrained in their cultural heritage and are intimately tied to their nomadic lifestyle. The efficacy and authenticity of these healing practices are sustained through their mobility, known as fairy, which provide them with a dynamic connection to the natural world and a powerful coping mechanism in the face of adversity. In essence, the nomadic communities of the Thar Desert embody a way of life that is both ancient and adaptive, rooted in their deep relationship with their patterns, their mobility, and their rich cultural traditions. This interconnectedness between mobility, healing practices, and cultural settings underscores the resilience and vibrancy of these nomadic societies amidst the harassed yet captivating landscape of the desert. Bhopal is saying, our thought is very important. In their own terms, chit or man. If your thought is okay, then your action will be fine. Then medicine or herbs will work. So your psychology is important for the well-being of your body. In their own words, चित्त ठिकाने पे होगा तो शरीर की शुद्धि हो सकती है. On another side, Kalbeliya is saying body and show the Atma, Aje Praje, that means ancestors, Bhoot Pret, the ghost, इन सबको ठीक रखना पड़ता है. Body के लिए herbal है, that means if you have some problem in the body, that's a herbs. For mind, we have music and feast. For ancestral worship, feast and Ratri Yoga, trance and possessions. Family member is important for the method, and community healing is very essential part of their whole process. And Kalbeliya is saying it is our sadhana, not just bodily healing. Sadhana consists of their experiencing, acquiring knowledge and understanding, establishing relationship with the individuals, intending for the cure, interacting with the nature, and connecting with the cultural context. And they generally saying, this is my sadhana. It is not solely about herbs or merely curing the body, rather I employ my expertise with it, I have proved it, I have attained mastery in it. That is sadhana. It depends on fairy, not just mobility. But when you mention fairy, it assimilates spiritual connotations, social and community aspects, especially their interactions with shapes, relations, and encounter with diverse snake species across different ecological zones. Interaction with landscapes, relationship with other communities, gathering different herbs and providing healing to the rest of the community are all integral components. Their healing practices is not following the same principle as science follow the same principle. But here, every community follow different principles, so we cannot make the single rule or principle for the nomadic healing practices. So integrate under nomadic healing prism is a bullshit idea. Their method, approach, and perspectives are different. And you can see. This is the data, how they just use the donkeys where they just to shift to their dera from one place to another. These are Raika people. There's the healing session. It's a long voice. I didn't understand what exactly they are saying in that voices, and the whole night they just kind of singing that long voices. So in the fourth part, there's the challenges. There's a first challenge, the sedentarization policy imposed by the colonial governments or even those established after colonial rule. These policies aims to establish control over the population, leading to changes in landscapes and treating the central key to nomadic life. Whether it is the creating of national park or agriculture land, these initiatives often encroach upon common lands traditionally used by nomads. Development discourse like that, if there is no agriculture land, it's a wasteland, so they use that desert land for their different activities. And Wildlife Conservation Act, Hospital Establishment Act, Drugs and Pharmaceutical Acts. So through different acts, they just restrict their life. And finally, the conclusion, we need plurality in healing traditions. Just as we appreciate diversity in opinions and promote diverse lifestyle, we must also promote plurality in healing traditions. They are not against biomedicine or modern medicine, and their practice are not harmful to the biomedicine. In fact, they fulfill the same role as biomedicine. The purpose of biomedicine is to ensure a healthy and happy body or society, and nomadic healers work on all aspects toward that goal. If there is nothing wrong with the nomadic healing practices, then why should not we give them a chance? Thousands of flowers bloom, let them bloom. Thank you.
I have an awful lot of questions, mostly about the details of your presentation. There's so many things that made me curious that I would give the floor to others if people have any comments or questions about the material. Yeah, Yolden?
Thank you for the presentation. The about the details are very interesting. I just have two questions. From the videos and photos you show us, we can see some residential clusters. And then we know that the Thar Desert, since the colonial time, the British administrations, they try different ways to settle the nomads. And then some was successful, some was not. And then have you observed the current authority in India? They're also trying to implement a similar policy to make the nomads settle in the land, and how this would have impact on the culture and also the healing practices of the local healers. Secondly, we know that some part of the Thar Desert are very popular for international tourists in India, and some people they go to Jaisalmer for camel safaris, and how the international tourism have some influence on the local cultures and also the healing practices.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I think for the first question regarding the sedentarization policy, so Indian government, or you can say the whole South Asian governments, just follow the same principle or same law. And government of India also try to sedentarize all those communities. And in their own understanding, they just seems that these peoples are very poor people. If you are living in the tent houses or the desert area or outskirts of the village, So they seems they are just like outcast people, or you are just out of that development product. So you should also be the part of development. So in the name modernity nowadays, in the name of development, you should also include in that development process. So in Rajasthan, government just provide 2 rooms at house for the nomad people. So first they used to just to visit to that house, and after 4 or 5 days, they just sell all the houses and they just used to visit. Because you can just to provide the houses, but not provide the whole culture. And the whole culture is depend on the mobility. So without mobility, they cannot survive in just on their 2 room set or 5 room set house. So even in Madhya Pradesh government or Haryana government, they just try to these things, but they failed. That's why nomadism is continuously going on increase. It's not going to be subsidized, but it's increasing, not decreasing. And second, nowadays Kalbeliya people, for example, they just work in different resorts and they provide healing sessions and working as a dancer, Kalbeliya women. But nowadays they also disenchantment with those the resorts and all that tourism sectors and like this. Because of that tourism sectors, because tourism is just work for winter period only, especially in desert area. So for 4 months, but the rest of the 8 months they depend on their judgments or that landscape. But if you just to entered in the tourism sector, that time you cut off from their judgments. And who will take care of during the adversity? Because desert is so with the kind of climate and the whole the ecology. So nowadays they also just disenchanted with tourist activities as well.
Philip?
Thank you, Ashwini. That was very enlightening and very broad also. I have some more general and some specific questions. So the more general questions you mentioned at the beginning, that the biodiversity is so high in Thar because of the nomadic communities. This is question number 1. Second one was on the when you were showing the this musician community, Hopa, you were showing them kind of reciting something and playing music.
Yes.
And you were giving this as an example of a healing
Yes.
ritual. So if I may ask here, is here the kind of the discursive performativity of the song is perceived as part of the healing process, or is it also kind of combined with giving herbs or some other forms of, let's say, physical treatment? Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
I want to ask the same question, whether the songs have healing powers.
Yes. And they just you have to consider these are the sacred people, so they get the kind of power from the Bhumiyaji or from the Babuji Rathore. And they seems this is not my words, but this is Bhumiyaji. I am just going to seva. Ye main seva hai Bhumiyaji. So I am just going to do this seva of the Bhumiyaji. So all the words coming from my mouth is actually recited by the Bhumiyaji. So it has powerful, and that's why people believe this is a kind of sacred people. Hopa is a sacred people. And those words just going to that the ill person side or illness side. So it's going to create or just going to be changed. So it's a kind of energy and what we can just to say. But it's very powerful words, and through the music it just generates. So I think it's a I think that sacredness lies in that voice and coming from the Bhumiyaji side.
Let me add to that, because you had several examples. So in the case of the Vopa, you say he's speaking with the voice of Bhumiyaji, but there were other examples also of songs being sung and what you said were healing rituals. Yes. I just wonder about that. As I said, some students have wanted to write master's theses on the therapeutic effects of songs, and it's hard to do. So if that's true, what are the other examples, and what is their theory behind it? How do they understand it to work? One example is it's the voice of a local deity, but are there other examples about how this is thought to work?
And the second, especially the Gopa, they just chanted the story. So they also consider not just the songs, but the story. If you listen the story of the Babuji Rathod, so somehow you gain the same energy and the same vibes and the same values as Opaji and Babuji Rathod done in their life. So you will also get those things, and you will also done in your future life. So they also telling the same, especially the stories. And after that, they also going to the kind of thread. This is the thread, and I'm just providing the thread. So this is thread is a kind of my Siddhi thread. So I'm just to work on that thread, and you just attach with your body, and that will always be going to be work. And all the negative thoughts which is coming from your neighbor side or some other evil side, so they all going to be far away because of that thread.
And the ecology question?
Yes, the ecology, we always think that the nomads, if someone say he just manage the oral or manage that ecosystem, so we think they have some special kind of events to manage that ecology. But they manage that ecology or biodiversity by their day-to-day practices. For example, Kalbeliya never be pee or kind of defecation on the sand dunes, always be in downside. They just going to respect, and they just going to be doing name. And I think that's how the many biological and scientific regions, they don't understand those things, but they use those things. They never cut the kind of khejri trees and the akada, especially the rare vegetation in the desert area, because of that snake. The snake always, the viper snake always will reside in the plant of the kind of akada or khejri. So they link with those things, and the scorpions and the snakes, they protect all of those things. So in different activities or their day-to-day life activities, they protect those ecosystems. But we just want to see how they protect the ecosystem. We give the specific examples.
Yes, Sumitran, you had to.
Getting an impression from what you have presented, I see that the healing practices of the Kalbeliya community, the nomadic community, they are mainly of the herbalist tradition. There's a herbalist tradition of healing basically, and also the music therapy in some form. But mainly it's a form of herbalism. So, and you are saying that they use a lot of materials derived from the plants and herbs. So I just want to ask you, it's basically a traditional. Have you done some? Any what do you call that? Ethnobotany. What do you call?
Yes.
Source of the herbs and all these things. Have you documented them? Because
Yes.
are they local herbs, or from where are they getting? What are the medicinal plants? Because we know that it is a desert area.
Yes.
Not many vegetations are present. Not many herbs are present. It's not like the forest. It's a very, so this is my one question. Have there been any ethnobotany analysis or something like that? And another thing is that I am in the healing tradition. I am not from what I'm seeing is that there isn't much ritual healing. There isn't some shrine. Are there some shrine apart from the herbalism? Are there some elements of ritual healing? Some local goddesses in which they are performing some rituals to get the heal, because the different aspects of the indigenous healing. So this is my second question. And third is that you are saying that you are emphasizing for many of the times that their healing is intricately linked with their mobility. Can you emphasize on that point more? Why? I think they are nomadic group and they are peripatetic nomad according, and they are selling their services, right? How their healing processes of a nomadic group is different from the healing processes of, say, another sedentary group. Why their healing is so much linked with their mobility?
First thing, they are not just herbalists only, but they also going with the kind of bone setters. They work as a bone setting. They also use leech therapy, not joke. They also carry leech, and they also use different types of kind of the snake bite or for the scorpion bite. So they also use the kind of surgery. They cut on that side and all these things. Your first question regarding the ethnobotanical paper and like this, I noticed more than 100 herbs. I think during my first research proposal, I wrote down all the herbs name. Not each and every Kalbeliya is not heard. Someone just say 30 or 40, but out in the desert area, you just combine all together. So there are more than 100 hubs. So I wrote down that hubs name. This is the first. Second, regarding their healing.
Ritual.
Yeah, ritual healing. They perform ritual healing. They use herbal healing. They use musical therapy. They going with the leech therapy. They also going to organize the kind of healing sessions, like we just asked the city, but they are local folk bodies like the Bharuji or their own folk ancestors. So they organize the healing session near to that place, not on the temple or nearby place. So this is the second. And what about third?
The mobility and
Yes,
healing
mobility.
plus-
That's a very important questions. First thing, with mobility, they just get not just, we have three approaches: preventive, promotive, and curative. So catching the snake, if you just find a snake in your house, so you just to hold the Kalbeliya nearby data. So if you just to reside a particular fixed place, especially for nomadic people, you cannot find the Kalbeliya people nearby place. So because of that mobility, you can find easily the Kalbeliya people, and they get easily this kind of snakes. They do not going for the much to find out where the snake is. And this is the preventive approach, because you have the potential risk of snake bite. Second, if you have some problem, so through visiting to the Jajman house, they provide the healing services. Third, through the mobility, they get the different herbs through different ecological zones. Fourth, and that, especially the mobility, also make them as a kind of healthy person. This is not the healing for the other person, they also the healing for themselves only. Fifth, their knowledge, traditions, and all the understandings comes through the interaction of different landscapes and through the different cultures. If they are stuck at a fixed point, so they never go with that kind of knowledge system, which they just come up with through the mobility, through the interactions of other communities.
Just amplify that question, because it's actually the theme of his dissertation is exactly that link between mobility and healing. So it's good if we all press him on this to make him think hard about it, because that's the argument to be made. What your arguments seem to be, you said third, fourth, and fifth, but actually there seem to be basically three. One is that in moving around, they have more access to a large range of judgment, simply because of that. So they have access to their clients, increased access because of their peripatetic lifestyle. Number two, because of their peripatetic lifestyle, they also have access, again, to the natural resources out there that can be used for healing, the animals and the plants and other things which they know well because of their familiarity with the landscape. And number three, and to me the most interesting, is this idea that the movement itself, you said it makes them a healthy person, but their term for the movement is, they're on peri, right? So they're circulating peri, and they call this sadhana, and that I find is really interesting. Sadhana, I linked it to my own research about Tantra. I'm talking to these Tantric practitioners up in Goa, asking them why they do this sadhana. And their answer is they're not trying to achieve liberation. There are no spiritual goals here. It's just perfecting sadhana, siddhi, this idea, it seems to be, of perfecting their practice. Can you say something about that? What is this sadhana and peri? What do they mean in deeper sense? And in what sense does the movement make them a healthier or a more powerful person?
Because in the fourth, that's my point regarding the knowledge and understanding. I think sadhana is also a kind of knowledge and understanding, and they go these understanding and knowledge through the practice of that mobility. During mobility, he continuously interaction with the landscape and continuously interaction with the rest of the communities and culture. It is not just like mobility, it's just a physical movement. You are not going to interact with the rest of the communities or the landscapes, but they have the kind of relationship with the landscape and relationship with the judgments. And it is not a deal, but when you're going on with the just mobility only, that time you have the kind of economic relationship with the land. But they understand that landscape through the prism of relationship. We have a relationship with the landscape. our ancestors just walking here, or our ancestors just tend to be died or like this. So they seems that all the dunes are kind of sacred. So they have a relationship with the landscape, and during sadhana, they getting all the experiences or knowledge through that mobility only. And this is the sadhana. I prove this thing. I just getting the kind of knowledge through the just practicing. तो मैंने इसको prove किया है, मैंने इसको साधा है. So that sadhana, that means I have to gain all that understanding and knowledge through that mobility, through that interactions. So it's my sadhana. ये मेरी साधना है.
You mentioned, you said the thread that they gave was Siddiqui.
Yes.
किसको साधता है?
That's
पत्थरों को, जड़ी बूटियों को,
जड़ी-बूटियों को,
सबको साधता है.
yes, and they are saying कि I just involve my all the knowledge, and knowledge just not belongs to me only, but my ancestors' knowledge and their understandings. So that experience I involved in that thread or in these herbs and all this the kind of medicines.
Please.
So thank you very much, Ashwani, for the talk that you gave. I think we have spent a lot of time, researching these tribes. Just some very technical questions that I have. So in your observation of these tribes, on average, can you tell what's the birth rate? So every woman, roughly how many children do they have? No, it's relevant. I have subsequent questions. Seriously.
Yeah, generally in a dera, 30 to 50% just to reside in a dera.
Okay.
And 8 to 10 family.
8 to 10.
8 to 10 family and 30 to 50%. So I think in a single household, 5 to 7 children.
5 to 7. And it's a.
But the thing here is, especially not just in Kalbeliya, but in all the nomadic communities, the childrens are not belongs to the family, but they are belongs to the dera.
To the tribe.
Yes, all the dera, especially that clan.
And is it like a one man, one wife, or do they practice polygamy, polygamy? How is it?
Yeah, generally one man.
One man, one wife. Okay, then, then this is relevant to my next question. So you said that these are nomadic tribes. And then, like, how do I say? Is there any particular reason why they move? I mean, there must be some objective for the movement, right?
If you see their whole culture is intricately woven around that mobility. It is not a single day that somebody is just going to force you since tomorrow or since today you just start with the walking. Throughout the history discourse, if you see in the medieval period or in the ancient time or in the modern time, you can see the whole life just around that mobility. In pastoral or in the snake charmer, India is known for as a snake charmer. Saperopathies. So that means it is not a new phenomena just for walking, but they continuously going to be just adapt different changes through that. Ki first they move to Multan or Sindh, but when they enacted the order, they just going to more focus toward the circular flow of mobility, not long distance mobility.
Because if you look at the animal kingdom, for example, like birds and fishes, there's a reason why they move. Maybe because temperature changes, or or food, or many other reasons. But you say that because it's their lifestyle to move, so that's why they move. And
Yes.
there's no particular objective to why they move.
Their
Yeah,
lifestyle.
I suppose a Kalbeliya might say, if you ask them, and they might say, well, what's your goal in staying in one place? And your answer would be like this. You'd say, well, that's the way I live. I have a house, I have an apartment, I live in one place, that's mine. So this idea of constant movement is really the way that they understand themselves.
And
As
to-
that's their nature to be constantly on the move. And it's interesting in the study of nomadism, I wrote a chapter on this from a book that Philip edited. If you look at the anthropologists who study nomadism, 90% of them or more have a kind of natural or almost a zoological or kind of approach. They want to figure out which aspects of the environment are being utilized, exploited and they want to map out the nomads' movements as if it were all simply a matter of maximizing your exploitation of the environment season by season in your movement. And I think that's terribly wrong, actually. And you end up with these highly formal, almost mathematical calculations with the assumption that they deliberately seek out this exploitation. And of course they do exploit the environment, but it's not, there are all kinds of ideological reasons for doing that. Maybe the ancestor lives there, you go to the Pushkar fair at a certain time of year, or you go to this place because that's when you do the ancestor rituals, or this or that. I mean, there's
So it's to do
much
something-
more involved than a
Zero,
pure.
if you consider regarding the environment, they have zero carbon footprint. Especially nomads. If you see their lifestyle, whole lifestyle, just to see their equipments, they use earthen pots. This is going on the campfire only to cook food. They never use the kind of surf and all the modern utensils. They never use modern gadgets or technical stuff, which is nowadays the more harass or dangerous things. They never use the kind of the mercury, para, and different equipments, and they use what they need. They're never going to be surplus for their future or for their next generations. Like this, 5 quintal of grains for 10 quintal or 20 quintal and like this, or you have the kind of resources or bank balance and like this.
So you see, move, and what's the mode of transport?
They use donkey, camel, oxen, horse. So where is the carbon or the kind of methane and all the gases?
Okay, the animals produce the gases.
Yeah.
Sorry, the reason why I asked you for the birth rate earlier was I was curious. I was expecting the birth rate to be low because they have to move. You can't move with so many children, right? So I was thinking that, I mean, it's a known fact that, we're in near people who are near the poverty line or in the lower social class, you have higher birth rate. But I was expecting that because they need to move and they are of a lower income, near poverty level, I was expecting maybe 2 child per woman.
They are not poor. That is the biggest problem in the academia or within the anthropology or the other. The people just see these communities of tribal people in terms of economy. And if you talk with those people very deeply, that time they think how we, especially the people is coming from the outside, especially the whole of VR, we just thinking the future or the development in terms of resources only. In terms of how much you have in your bank account or in bank balance or in your process.
So the animals is maybe their assets. How many camels you own, how many buffaloes you own.
But they are not counted as the kind of resource and all this. Especially for the kind of money or like this. We are thinking in that aspect. They do not think in that economic framework or that perspective.
And the food, I mean, do they eat veg, non-veg, or what kind of food do they eat?
Mix, they are hunter-gatherers, their own communities going for the hunting as well, especially.
So they hunt.
Yes. But not every day. For 1 month or 2 months, they have their strict rules. They all make that rule.
As Marshall Solins famously said, they think of us as poor because we have no time, but they have an abundance of time and
Yes.
freedom, and for that reason they think of themselves as rich and free.
Okay, thank you very much. Just out of curiosity, I was